I guess we should start now. Um, okay, hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to you all. And we're very glad that you joined us today. I'm Swastika, and I work here as a growth marketing manager at KrispCall, and I'll be your host for today's session. So today we're going to talk about something almost every support teams deals with, but rarely names out loud, which is hidden support costs. And we're going to talk about specifically what happens when your phone system and your help desks are not talking to each other and what changes when they are. So I'm joined by two great speakers from Deskpro. We have Stephanie Mayer. She works as a senior product manager at Deskpro. Hello, Stephanie. Great to have you here.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
And from KrispCall, we have Abhishek Regmi. He works here at KrispCall as a senior business analyst. Hello, Abhishek.
Hi, Swastika. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And before we dive in, I would like to call out our agenda for today. So, over the next 40 minutes, we're going to cover why siloed phone and help desk tools quietly cost you, and what a unified call and ticketing workflow actually looks like in a day-to-day basis. So, we're also going to talk about how Dextro structures customer interactions and what KrispCall automates once it's connected. And we'll closely look within the integration itself. So if you have any question along the way, you can drop the question in the chat, and we'll try to get to as many as we can at the end. So let's start with the big picture. And this first question is for both of you. I would like first Abhishek to answer this. Customer today expect support to be available across different channels and at almost any time, right? So from your experience, Abhishek, why has 24/7 support become so important for modern businesses today? So
Sure. So I think customers nowadays interact with businesses from different locations, different time zones, and different channels. So their expectations are no longer just based on like traditional office hours, the traditional business hours. So when customers face like an urgent issue, maybe that's something that's affecting their account, their payment, their ability to use a product, and especially with SaaS products, they are using them, 24/7, not just during office hours. So they expect the business to acknowledge these problems and issues, quickly. So if even if like an immediate resolution is not possible, they would still like to be acknowledged that their problem has been heard. So providing this 24/7 kind of support helps businesses gain this trust, and reduce frustration amongst customers, and also prevent like smaller problems to go into larger ones. So you don't want your customers to be dissatisfied or unhappy or to churn. And also it's important for businesses who are doing who are serving to international customers. So a company might have its working day in the headquarters at a certain hour, but their customers might be present, all around the world. So they need to have that presence no matter what.
that's a great starting point. So I would like to ask the same question to Stephanie. Would you like to add anything from the Dexpro side as well?
Yeah, I think customer expectations are set by experiences, and the bar for good support has been shifting drastically to almost like meet the needs of the instant gratification that customers have right now. So logging request at any time is just a baseline expectation as opposed to a differentiator for support software. And more so now than ever, 24/7 support can't only be solved by just adding extra staff, because you need to incorporate kind of context of queries, so that touch point throughout the customer's journey is maintained at the highest level. So the I think the importance comes in for 27 support to actually give agents the tools that they need to do that and to deliver the excellence that they expect. So that continuity between, different timelines or different life cycles or between different staff is seamless.
These both your points really set the stage. So now we can get more specific from here. So again, to you, Stephanie, when support requests come from different platforms, right, it can become hard for teams to address them on time. So how does Helpdesk platform help teams keep customer issues organized and easier to resolve?
Yeah, it's a good question. So multi-channel help desks are beneficial to the use case because they essentially consolidate requests into a single interface. Um, and that essentially allows the agent to stay within the context of a single platform, which essentially keeps them in the zone of the customer context. So help desks can also be really, really good at kind of auto classifying that information. So we can associate key metadata to tickets coming in. For example, like owner, priority, SLA, status, conversation history, all that stuff. So we essentially gain all of that deeper understanding before the agent even hits the ticket, so that, they have that deeper understanding of what's going on before they respond to the request, which essentially means that a single ecosystem of ticketing has a net positive effect on, response times, resolution times for both agent and admins, because the tickets are well categorized, they're well triaged, and segmented per department. So the ownership and the visibility is super clear.
That organization piece on the ticketing side is exactly what sets up our next questions, because tickets are only half of the story. A lot of that urgent 24/7 support still happens over the phone, right? So again, coming back to you, Abhishek, many businesses already operate on phone calls for urgent support or urgent customer support, and especially when customer need quick answers. What role do a better phone system play in making support more effective and available 24/7?
Um, I think customers, if they have an urgent issue, they're not going to be, emailing you or filling in a contact us form, right? So you need like something that's quick and instant. So live chat might be one, but phone system is definitely where you are sure you're speaking to a real person. So a reliable phone system will help direct calls to the right person or department with features like IVR. So this will make sure we are this is reducing missed conversations and also prevents customers from being bounced from one person to another. And also for businesses that are operating out across like different shifts and teams and locations, they can all have a unified kind of view of what their phone activity looks like. So they can use same single number as a helpline number, and multiple team members can answer to the same number. So in addition to that, a better phone system would also have features like call forwarding, SMS forwarding in case those are outside business hours or you cannot attend to those calls, so that customers still feel heard about their issue, their problem. So they can be sure they're gonna get back to. So I think from KrispCall's perspective as well, the goal is to make sure that every customer reaches the right place and receives the proper kind of attention that they need.
I really like the thing that you flagged, that you still need the right team and process behind it. That's a perfect segue, because separately these tools solve different problems, but the real cost shows up when they don't talk to each other at all. So this brings us to the hidden support cost, the theme of today's session. So Stephanie, as customer expectations are growing, support teams need better ways to track and resolve every issue. So, but when calls and tickets are handled in separate systems, where does it cost businesses the most?
Yeah, so I think there are essentially three aspects of this to consider. So from a management level, if the call and ticket volumes are kind of kept separate, it makes it quite difficult to consolidate reporting. So it could lead to underworked teams or overworked teams, and that's quite difficult to manage. From the agent's perspective, if they're entrusted with the task of manual logging of calls, or if it's a busy period, they could potentially not log it against the customer. So um, that that workflow becomes almost unreliable. The data becomes unreliable because it is vulnerable to human error. I mean, everyone makes mistakes, everyone gets busy. So and then from the perspective of the customer, it's a lack of context from an agent that's dealing with them, because that agent doesn't actually have the context that they need. So I think that those are kind of the hidden costs of not actually having an integrated platform.
That mirrors exactly what we see from the phone side too, actually. So obviously, when customer calls are not connected to their support tickets, what hidden workload does this create for support teams, and how does it impact the overall support process?
So I think Stephanie has already touched on this. So I think we're going to hear a lot of what we call context, right? So context is when you get a call and you have the ticket associated with that phone number, with that customer contact right in front of you. You get all the details of the ticket. So if they've had previous issues, if they've had previous tickets, or what's the ongoing status of the current ticket is. So this makes sure that the customers are not, being barraged with a lot of questions just to know the context of their situation. And also, as Stephanie mentioned, a lot of automatic logging is going to help with not just making sure that the data is there in the first place, but also make sure that the data is valid and accurate as well. So this
Yeah.
helps not just the customers, the agents, but also the management visibility, as well as we've been talking about.
So basically, it's invisible until you actually connect the two systems and see the real picture, right? So let's talk about what it looks like once they're connected. So moving to Stephanie again, if phone and ticketing system are connected in same support workflow, how does the day-to-day work of a support agent change? So if Stephanie, if you can describe what that unified workflow looks like in practice.
Yeah, of course. So essentially, with one system, you then have the incoming calls, creating their tickets, updating the help desk automatically without agent intervention. So the calls come in and I already have everything I need to start with. Then the next phase is the context. So, okay, who is the person? I have a clear view of the history. I know their previous tickets. I know the past calls. I know who I'm speaking to. And then phase three in the workflow is, okay, post call. So now pre-integration, I would then need to go and write down all the notes and make sure that all the metadata is associated to that ticket, that user, that customer. But within the new workflow, post the call, all that stuff, the call recordings, the notes, everything's attached to the ticket without all the manual stuff that goes on after it. And if certain help desk automations and things like that are set up, you can kind of just close the loop really easily. So instead of spending that time doing all that manual work, I could then just move on to the next ticket and carry on with my day. So overall, the unified workflow provides fewer admin tasks, fewer manual activities between the calls to help agents just focus on what they need to do and be more efficient in their everyday.
And that's really mirrored on the KrispCall side too. So obviously, it might be a lot similar from your ends as well, but similarly for support teams handling customer calls around the clock, or let's say, what would their daily workflow look like in practice with their phone connected to the help desk system that they use. So if we can have your perspective from KrispCall's end.
Stephanie mentioned. So it removes a lot of these tedious manual tasks that the agents have to do. But also, again, like we spoke previously, it also creates an opportunity for the customer to have a better customer experience, right? So there's two sides to this. So because their problem can easily be attended to, they're going to have a much better outlook after the call. So yeah, so we have all the information, all the context in there, and then we don't have to worry about any data logging.
Yeah, and basically, call does not disappear once you hang up, and it becomes part of customer success, customer stories, right? So, again, I would like to come back to you, Stephanie. Now that we've discussed what a unified phone and ticket workflow looks like for support teams, let's take a deeper dive into Dexpro itself. So, as a help desk platform, how does Dexpro structure tickets and track customer interactions across different channels?
Yeah, so Deskpro is pretty flexible, pretty configurable for what you need. So you can configure your tickets coming in by team, department, SLA, ticket type, for example, to match how your team works. We also have various automations, which I kind of alluded to earlier. So you can help handle like routing, auto responses, certain escalations, again, without the need for agents actually having to do it manually. For administrators or managers, there's reporting on tickets. So you have oversight of the volumes and the agent performance, SLA adherence, and all of that. So you can have a bird's eye view of what your team is doing. And then looping in KrispCall and actually bringing that in, agents then get that full picture of what the clients need and a more effective resolution experience. So yeah, the integration between Deskpro and KrispCall just helps close the loop really, really nicely and speaks to that kind of need for 24/7 support and how we can achieve that.
That's such a really great way to put it, and that basically gives us a clear picture of the Dexpro side. So now let's go back to the KrispCall and look at where KrispCall actually plugs into that. So Abhishek, now that we've seen how Dexpro helps organize support interactions, let's look at where KrispCall fits in. When KrispCall is connected with Dexpro, what parts of the phone support workflow can it automate for support teams?
Sure. So KrispCall can automate a lot of repetitive activities that we talked about in the last set of questions. So what that explicitly looks like is depending on what settings you have selected. So any incoming and outgoing calls, missed calls, voicemails, and SMS conversations can be logged within Dexpro as tickets. So maybe you would want every incoming call to be a ticket, or maybe you'd want every incoming SMS to be a ticket, or a missed call to be a ticket. So you can create tickets out of calls as well. So and also any notes that were created during conversations can also be synced into the workflow. Agents can, of course, make calls, send messages, receive incoming calls without having to like copy the phone number from Dexpro, going to KrispCall, paste it there, and then calling it. So it treats all of this so can happen within Dexpro within the same environment. So there's a lot less switching between the two tools and platforms. So yeah, KrispCall would manage the calling and messaging layer while Dexpro kind of organizes the ticket, the ownership, and the resolution processes. So they make like each and every phone and SMS conversation a kind of trackable part of the journey.
So essentially, KrispCall handles the calling and messaging while Dexpro keeps everything organized, and neither side has to manually stitch it together. Right. So let's actually see how that connection is set up. So again, to you, Abhishek, following up on that, could you briefly explain what the setup process generally looks like and how the businesses actually start to connect these platforms?
Sure. So setup process is relatively straightforward. So a user can sign into KrispCall and then just go to settings. And under settings, we have like a separate section for integrations. So you can search for Deskpro there and then just click connect. So it'll show a pop-up with where the users can enter their Deskpro domain name as well as the API key. So once credentials are validated after you enter, KrispCall will confirm that the integration is successfully connected. And then after connecting account, you can configure, okay, how the integration should work. Would you want to create tickets out of every incoming call, every missed call? So, there's a lot of settings there. So yeah, so that's the setup process is actually relatively very straightforward.
Yeah,
And our sales and support team can help you out as well if you need any help.
yeah, that sounds very straightforward, and it seems like you don't really need any third party to, connect or set the process. But even if you need, both our um, support teams are always there. So good to know that. And again, I would like to go back to Stephanie. From the Dextro side, even this the answer might be like a lot similar with what Abhishek has said. But once that connection is live, what actually changes for your agents? So if you'd like to add on that from Dextro side, Stephanie.
Yeah, so essentially with the integration connected, you as Abhishek mentioned, you can actually decide how you want KrispCall and Deskpro to interact. So once that setup is all done, agents can basically just remain within the context of Deskpro because inbound and outbound calls come in directly, SMSs, all within the KrispCall dialer that sits on top of Deskpro. So the context with that agents can sit in within Deskpro is just all there ready to be used against the contact. So because support agents don't actually have to just leave Deskpro or switch between multiple systems, the efficiency levels just go up because it's a really, really simple integration that just sits on top and just makes the lives of the agents so much easier.
That's exactly the kind of shift that makes a lot difference during a busy shift, right? So now let's dig a little deeper into what that means for workload. We're going to talk about reducing agent workload. So um, once call activities are automatically captured inside Dixpro, you know the workflow actually for agents becomes much faster. So again, Stephanie, when it comes to managing continuous support, how does this reduce the workload for agents?
Yeah, so I mean, we've mentioned before the kind of removal of the manual admin tasks and all that, but I think on top of that, it reduces the mental overhead between calls and ticket updating automatically. So agents can just move on to the next task. You don't have to be concerned with all the admin that comes with assisting customers, and managing all the kind of, I would say, like mundane tasks that come off the back of interacting with customers. Um, so I think on top of that, probably one of the key things is the facilitation of the handover between shifts between agents. And we spoke about this kind of first when we first got onto the webinar, about like the importance of 24/7 support desk support, and agents coming in, having a full call history, and having that continuity between various agents, shifts, timelines. That's kind of what we want everyone to understand, the importance of this integration, because that's where the value is. That's kind of where it lies.
Yeah, and is it the same story from the cruise call side as well, especially during the peak hours, Abhishek? Like if you want to add a bit from the cruise call side as well.
So I think the main change is that the Deskpro can remain as the main primary support workspace, right? So there's no need to juggle between the two platforms. So so KrispCall through the integration will manage the communication. So it's the same thing. So agents can just move on to making calls, actually supporting customers rather than have to do a lot of this manual data entry and keep track of analytics, having to ask customers a lot of questions. So yeah, so because this integration gives that context as well as visibility, so agents have, or anyone who's responsible will have a clear understanding of what happened, and especially if the tickets can move from one shift to another, the agent who's covering that ticket afterwards can also have all the visibility and the context too.
Yeah, the visibility piece for supervisors is used to, right? It's not just, easier for agents, managers actually get to see where the pressure points are before they become a problem. So let's bring this all the way home with this means for what this means for customer experience, right? So after everything we've discussed, one of the biggest takeaways of this webinar is customer context. So, Stephanie, how does this integration help support teams understand customer history before they respond or take the next action?
Yeah, so the integration helps by essentially providing a rich picture of the customer that you're dealing with. You can see the resolved tickets, the open issues, details associated with that customer, and it gives the agents the tools to work faster, and perceive the sentiment of the customer. So because a customer doesn't have to kind of re-explain their concerns, agents can present as really well informed and professional from the get-go to provide that more personalized experience, which will naturally lead to a happier customer. And then with KrispCall, voice becomes part of that support record, becomes part of that that experience, and then essentially creates like a single ecosystem of support. So that's my biggest takeaway, I think.
That's great. So, a basic same question from the KrispCall side as well. What should an agent know before they even pick up the phone?
So I think when you think about it from agent's point of view, right? So when you're receiving a call, if you don't have any context on that, right? What's your first question going to be? What's the issue? What's going on? So that can create a lot of frustration to the customer. And also, if you have context, if you know the severity of the issue, you can tone your kind of language and how you approach that conversation differently. So with KrispCall connected to Deskpro, so agents have recordings like customer details, any previous call activities, any previous ticket histories and notes and messages, so on. So you can kind of get a good picture whether this customer has contacted you for the first time, or is there already a ticket in place, or have they had previous tickets similar with similar kind of issues. So this will help agents as well to ask like more relevant questions so that they can do a better job of addressing the questions that the customers might have. So for example, instead of just giving a troubleshooting step that the customer might have heard previously, they can just move on to what the next step is after that troubleshooting step, right? So this will help improve the experience for the customer, like Stephanie said, but also the conversation feels like more connected and more personal because of the business appears like prepared to talk to you about your issues, and being aware of customer history definitely helps.
I really like how you frame that, and I guess that's a great note to move into our last segment, which is Q&A session. So this is going to be a bit interactive. So let's see in the chat if we have got any questions from the audiences. Uh, so we have one. This is from Nick. Do duplicate tickets create hidden support cost? If yes, how does this integration help teams reduce or manage them? So this one's for you, Stephanie.
Yeah. So I think duplicate tickets can definitely create additional cost for support teams. Um, so if you think about it, like agent time, bad data, poor downstream decisions. Um, so I think probably the most visible or noticeable is agent time. Like two agents working on the same issue independently because they lack visibility that this issue is one. So uncaught kind of duplicate issues being raised do inflate support volumes. They impact reporting, they impact staffing, workload distribution, all that fun stuff. So I think having a help desk that deals with that. So, for example, Deskpro with KrispCall integration, it definitely will help to reduce those duplicates by matching incoming calls to existing contacts and contact records and um, ticket groups and things like that. So um, we I mean, Deskpro also has a feature where you can actually merge tickets. So if it happens to kind of slip past and you realize that there is tickets that potentially could be the same issue from two different customers resolved at the same time, those can thread into one. So that you have like a full idea of the ticket history. So yeah, help desks definitely help expose hidden support costs and diminish them.
Yeah, that was very, I really like how you put it, and I hope that answers your question, Nick. So moving on to next, before I move to the next question, this is to all the audiences who have joined us today. If you have any questions for you want to ask to our speakers, you can freely drop your questions in the chat box. Uh, Okay, so this one's for you, Abhishek. In 24/7 phone support, where do teams usually lose the most time without integration? Missed calls, manual logging, call routing, or follow-ups?
I think the issue is with like visibility. So missed calls, if you have a good phone system, even without a sync, you can kind of see you have missed a call, right? But what makes you lose time, I think, is a lot of manual logging because that's as well as follow-ups. Uh, Manual work first of all is less visible because if you don't have it, then you don't know you've done it, right? So after each interaction, if you're expected to log calls, log any notes, update the ticket. So they are spending a lot of time to search for the customer, finding the right ticket, adding the details, writing notes, locating different recordings, and also deciding who should be following up. So it's very likely that this information becomes incomplete because of the tediousness of this logging. So another agent after some time might need to do the same work later. So that's killing like both of their times, right? So this compounds to a lot of lost time. So yeah, so I'd say it's between manual logging and follow-ups.
Yes, and that was a question from Theo Lancaster. I hope Abhishek has answered your question. And we have one more question here. How do I get 25% off in KrispCall and Dexpro? So if you have joined this webinar via registration, then you might have already filled your information in the registration form. So we had this offer. If you join this webinar, if you attend this webinar, then you get the 25% off. Then our team will email you the coupon code, and you can use that coupon coupon code and get 25% off on KrispCall. And with regarding the Dexpro, there was no such offer in the webinar. But if there is any other offer from the Dexpro's end, would you like to add, like, give him an answer to that, Stephanie? If there
Yes,
is any.
I think you can just get in touch with us and we will talk you through our options.
Yeah, and since your information will be shared with the Dextro's team as well, their sales team will contact you, and you can always get an offer from, like, through that. So, I guess that is all. We have our speakers have answered all the questions, and with this, we've come to the end of this session. And a huge thank you to you, Abhishek and Stephanie, for walking us through this, from why 24/7 support matters to the real hidden cost of disconnected systems to what it actually looks like once KrispCall and Dexpro are working together. So a very huge thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you,
so much.
Jessica.
That was great.
So, and to all the audiences today, thank you so much for joining us today. And we hope this session was insightful to you as well. And we hope you could take a lot for your support teams. So, yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you again at our next webinar. Thank you. Thank you.
Cheers.